Meet Billy. In 5 years, Billy will have spent 605 days sleeping and 2.5 full days brushing his teeth, hopefully. He will have sat in traffic for 9 full days. Billy hates traffic. And in 5 years, he will have spent 433 days working. Social media will have taken up 152 consecutive days of his life. He will have walked 3,650 miles and spoken 29.2 million words, hopefully good ones. In 5 years, Billy will have spent 76 days eating and drinking. Billy loves dessert. 2.5 years out of the 5 will be spent consuming media, with 228 days spent watching TV. Billy is messy. He will have spent 152 days cleaning. And in 5 years, he will have spent roughly $40,000 on food, 40 days shopping, and 50 days socializing with the homies. Welcome to you in 5 years.
That white stuff in that picture just now is called snow. That's what I wanted the homies. Imagine right now, I want you just to kind of get into your mind right now, the number that represents your age right now. Right? Imagine I got like 2 giant numbers here, or one for a few of you. 1 giant number here. And we actually have several people that would need 3 giant numbers. But if you have 2 giant numbers up here that represent your age, so you're 26 years old, I got a 26 right up here. You're 35 years old, I got 35 right here. You're 75 years old, I got your number right up here. These giant numbers right here. And now I want to ask you to, whatever that number is, you just visualize that number in front of you. I want to ask you to fast forward, add 5 more years to it. Whatever that number is of your age right now, add 5 more years to it. You got it? Some of you are like, I don't like this game. Can we subtract the numbers? Can that be better? Try to picture yourself at that age 5 years from now. That's what I want to get you to do. Get to imagine yourself 5 years from now. Last week I talked with a woman in our church. Some of you know her. Her name is Myra Exler. She is 102, almost 103 years old. I said, Myra, here's what I'm going to start in church with on Sunday morning. And about 5 years from now, imagine yourself 5 years from now. She said, oh, I don't want to imagine myself 5 years from now. I said, no, Myra, you don't understand. You're going to be one of those 108-year-old people that they have newspapers coming in, and you're still going to be inviting people to church because she does it all the time. And she is so incredibly awesome there. So fast forward 5 years. What is your life like in 5 years? I'm looking at some people right now. I'm looking at a couple right now, Philip and Delia, right back here. I'm going to officiate their wedding in just a short. How many days do we have? We got down to days yet? I missed it, but so soon, very soon, they're going to be getting married. And I'm looking at another couple. 5 years from now, they're going to be thinking about, hey, 5 years of marriage. We're going to have our anniversary thing, whatever's going on. So think about that. You in 5 years. And right away, I want to tell you this right up front. As Presbyterians, we take seriously the idea of the sovereignty of God and how God is in control of all dimensions of every part of our lives, and how God is the language of the Bible. We talk about God as the potter. We are the clay, and God is busy shaping us into some image that He would be desirable to Him. So God is the one doing the shaping, and our job is sort of taking and go with what God is up to. But we have a part to play, and so this series is going to be about our part that we get to play, because there is a part that we get to play. So I want to begin this by having us take a look at in the Bible. You can do this again on the screen. You can do it in the message notes on the new website, message notes section. But it's Romans chapter 13, 11 through 14. We're going to look at this in 2 different translations. One of them is the NIV that we normally use, and the other is the Message. But this is written by a man named Paul to the Christians who were living in the city of Rome. And here it is. Paul says this, "And do this, understanding the present time. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when you first believed. The night is nearly over. The day is almost here. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. Let us behave decently as in the daytime, not in carousing and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and debauchery, not in dissension and jealousy. Rather, clothe yourselves with the Lord Jesus Christ, and do not think about how to gratify the desires of the flesh. I like how the Message paraphrase of this same passage has it even more urgent. There's more urgency in the language of that one. So take a look at this one. Same words, same passage. Be sure that you don't get so absorbed and exhausted in taking care of all of your day-to-day obligations that you lose track of the time and doze off oblivious to God. The night is about over. Dawn is about to break. Be up and awake to what God is doing. God is putting the finishing touches on the salvation work He began when we first believed. We can't afford to waste a minute. Must not squander these precious daylight hours in frivolity and indulgence, in sleeping around and dissipation, in bickering and grabbing everything in sight. Get out of bed and get dressed. Don't loiter and linger, waiting until the very last minute. Dress yourselves in Christ and be up and about. I love the intensity of that. Wake up and see what God is doing. We can't afford to waste a minute. There are things that are going on. Don't squander the daylight. The dawn is coming. Don't wait until the last minute. Be up and about. The future is at hand. He is telling them that in the present tense. He's saying, listen, have some intensity about your life. The future is at hand. These are powerful words with urgency built into them about being intentional about their lives. And so the question that I want to sort of put out there, hang out there in the air for not just today, but for some weeks ahead as we look at this series, the question is, if you think about yourself in 5 years, what can you accomplish? What can you accomplish in 5 years of effort in your life? What goes on your list of what you would have your life be like in 5 years? You all just fast forwarded your age plus 5. What's it going to be like then? Dream a little bit. Have some initial impressions about that. Make some notes about that on the thing and on the message notes and on the website as well. What goes on your list? The thing is, 5 years from now, that is enough to accomplish a number of things. You can do big things. You can do a lot of things in 5 years. You can do good things and bad things in 5 years. In 5 years from now, you could be fluent in another language. Yeah, I mean, I get this. I do this Duolingo. You know, this is free. It's a free app on your phones. Duolingo. Last year, 5 minutes a day, I spent 5 minutes a day learning Spanish. And this year, since the beginning of the year, I've been learning French. And so, you know, every 5 minutes a day, 5 years from now, you can be fluent in another language. You can even on Duolingo, you can even learn to speak Klingon. Yeah, you Trekkie nerds out there, you're like, what? You know, right there. So, but you can learn a language in five years. You could get a degree in 5 years. Some of you say, I don't have a degree. I always wanted a degree. Well, you could get one. If you started it, you could finish it by then. You could get a degree in 5 years. You could open up a world of learning for you, a world of opportunity for you. If you're an older person, they give you discounts on it. Sometimes they give you classes just for free if you're over a certain age. You could get a degree in 5 years. You could learn a new skill in 5 years. You could take up woodworking. You could take up painting. You could take up any number of things, gardening, pottery. I saw that George W. Bush, when he retired from the presidency, he took up oil painting. I think it's like a Wounded Warrior or something like that. He took up oil painting. Got books that how that he does. You could do that. In retirement, it's a great idea to take up something like that because the key to that is to keep your mind strong, keep your mind involved. You could master a sport. One of our own just finished at, what did you say, Aaron, 2 o'clock this morning, 100-mile race. What's wrong with him? 100 miles through the night and finished at like 2 a.m. this morning. He wasn't a runner before. He decided to become a runner. You could decide to be a crazy runner like Jeff. Seal says she wants to try a paddle boarding. Some of you will try paddle boarding. She said, well, I don't know if that's a sport or not, but she wants to try it. She wants to do paddleboard. So anybody who has paddleboards, call her and ask her to come out and do that. What is it for you? You might want to do skydiving. You might want to learn to do kung fu, right? Angela, you want to learn how to do kung fu? Absolutely, she does. She's ready to go. You might want to go drag racing, right? Drag racing. How about that, Melissa? You want to go drag racing? No, not really. Okay. Tennis, golf, 5 years is enough to be competent in that area. You could read 60 books in 5 years. 60 books. That's just one a month, and it boils down to about 6 pages a day, which doesn't take long at all. You don't even have to read War and Peace. You can read, like at my house these days, there's a lot of green eggs and hams going on. You can read 60 books in 5 years, because you just read, because readers are leaders. And leaders are readers. Just read books. You could do that. How about this one? You could radically transform your spiritual life, growing closer to God than you've ever been in the next 5 years. Think about it. You give your next 5 years over to seeking God's face, spending time in prayer, spending time in the Word, spending time in the disciplines, you will go deep in your faith. So there are lots of positive things that could happen. There are also some negative things that could happen as well over the next 5 years. 5 years from now, you could be going through the final details of a messy divorce because of 5 years of neglecting your spouse. 5 years from now, you could be serving part of your sentence to a 20-year prison sentence, if you really are motivated, I guess. 5 years is enough time to be addicted to drugs. 5 years is long enough to have worked 5, 6, 7 different jobs that you only half-heartedly gave yourself to before quitting or before getting fired. 5 years is long enough to rack up a mountain of credit card debt. 5 years is long enough to put on 30 extra pounds on your body. 5 years is enough time to smoke 36,500 cigarettes. Did the math on it. That's a pack a day. People are like, oh, you guys gonna pick on cigarette smokers here, Pastor? All the cigarette smokers, you gonna pick on me, Pastor? Listen, people ask me, can you go to heaven? Will smoking keep me from going to heaven, Pastor? Will it? I say, it'll just help you get there quicker. 5 years is long enough to do good or to do evil. This series is about making the good decisions, wise decisions in those 5 years, so that 5 years from now, the life that we have then, that we'll be excited about, we'll be energized by, we'll be happy about the choices that we have made all along. And I want to just give you this entire message, at least for today, this entire message all in like a single sentence today. Here it is. The ways you let in are the ways you are set in. You got it? The ways that you let in become the ways that you get set in. We all have ways. Everybody has ways. God has His ways. God says about His ways that His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. His ways are higher than our thoughts. They're not on the same caliber. The Lord has His ways. We have our own ways. We have our ways. Our ways are how we choose to react to things. Our ways are the way we choose to speak. Our ways are when we accept and when we decline and when we stay and when we go. Our passions, our checking account speaks of our ways. Your text message history, your Facebook posts speak of your ways. Many of our models that we have for our ways were something that we saw in our own childhood. What we saw become our ways also. The ways you let in eventually becomes the ways that you were set in. And today this is about what your life is going to be about eventually, over time, 5 years from now. The ways that you were set in will shape your life. Now, getting stuck in your ways does not have to mean something bad, because getting stuck in your ways is a good thing if you are stuck in the right ways. So I want to talk about several things today that have to do with this idea of the ways that we let in, the ways that we get set in, and the 5 years from now moment. And the first, and you can write this down, you can put it on your thing on the website as well, the time is not on your side. Time is not on your side. In that passage in Romans, Paul said that he doesn't want us to lose track of time. There's an urgency to time. Sometimes we don't feel that urgency in the busyness of life. There's an urgency to time. So the night is over. The dawn is about to break. There's this larger sense of timing that is out there. In the Greek language, there are actually two different words to describe this thing that we call time with one word. And there is chronos, as in chronological time, as in the stuff that's on your watch. It's the sequential time of things. And then there's kairos, which is that right time, the strategic time, the time to do something is upon us. And in this case, he is using that sense of kairos, the right time. He's talking about the end of time. And so knowing that the end of time is upon us, knowing that it's even out there, is to give us perspective on our own lives. When we're so down in the weeds and thinking about all the day-to-day type of things, don't lose sight of this larger perspective of life, because you don't know how long until that moment comes, and nor do you know how long you have in this life. In Psalm 39, verses 5 and 6, the psalmist says this: "You have made my days a mere handbreadth. The span of my years is as nothing before you. Everyone is but a breath, even those who seem secure. Surely everyone goes around like a mere phantom. In vain they rush about, heaping up wealth without knowing whose it will finally be." You get that sense that they were rushing around and rushing around. You have to have some perspective. Our life is short here. So you have this life, and then like that, it is gone. Psalm 90 puts it this way: "Our days may come to 70 years or 80 if strength endures, and yet the best of them are but trouble and sorrow, for they quickly pass and we fly away." And then 2 verses later, he says why this is important: "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." In other words, give us perspective. At any moment in the living of our days, give us a kind of perspective that knows that life is temporary. Some of you are 17 years old. Some of you are 24 years old. Some of you are 34 years old, 74 years old. I don't know. If you're anywhere under like my age, I will tell you, and anyone over my age will tell you, that life is short. I mean, I am firmly in middle age here. But you are going to blink. You parents who are stressing out at home with your children, you are going to blink. Decades are going to pass. The longer you live, right? Anybody? The faster it goes. Time is not on your side. That's the first thing to say. There's an urgency to the sense of time. It's not on your side. Second thing to say, point 2, is future you. So we're thinking about 5 years down the road, right? Future you is simply an exaggerated version of current you. Future you is an exaggerated version of current you. Sometimes we think that the future me or you is going to, like, there's something magically going to transform into this whole new person. The reality is, if you are kind today, you're going to be even kinder 5 years from now in the future. You're going to be even kinder. It's going to deepen and it's going to mature in you. And if you are generous today, you're going to be even more generous. That's going to deepen and mature. You're just going to be more generous with more gray hair and a few more wrinkles. And that's just how it is. But at the same time, this scares people to hear that very thought, because time doesn't automatically change who you are. It reveals who you are. It makes you more of who you are, and it scares people because people think to themselves, well, what if I'm a jerk? You are going to be even more of a jerk. You're going to be exactly like the choices you were making today, only more so. Proverbs 11:27 reads, "Whoever seeks good finds favor, but evil comes to the one who searches for it." That's the type of person you are. If you know someone like that, you're searching for it, you're seeking trouble, you're seeking evil. If you're the first to find fault in everything, if you're the first to find fault in any situation or anybody around you, it shows. You didn't know that. It shows. We just need to read your comments, your posts, your statements, your lips, your emails, your text messages, your quips, the things that you laugh at. If you're looking for evil, if you're looking for fault, you will find it. Many are like that. If you're rushing around trying to cast judgment on people around you, you will continue that behavior and you will intensify that behavior over time. You are what you eat. You become what you watch. You reap what you sow. And so future you is not a mystery. It is current you exaggerated. We need this next point after having said that. If you don't like what you're getting, you can change what you're doing. If you don't like what you're getting, you can change what you are doing. 5 years ago, as you look forward, who did you want to become? Is it who you are right here today? The 5 year ago version of you, is it who you are today? Some of you are right where you want to be, and that is awesome, because it says to me that there's some depth to you, there's some transformation to you, there's some faith to you. You're right where you want to be, and some of you regrets. If you don't like what you've been getting, you need to change what you were doing. You need to make different decisions. You need to make different choices. You need to value some different things. You need to watch the ways that you are letting in before they continue and set in. And I like the way Pastor Greg Laurie says the evening of life is determined by the morning of it. In other words, we can make those decisions now. And that's really what Paul was saying to the Romans, because what Paul was saying to the Romans had to do with the future. But he's putting some urgency in the here and now. And he's saying to the Romans about the night that is ending and the dawn that is about to come, and that we can make decisions before the evening comes. Like now, we can make those decisions. And if we are living in it, if we're at an age where we feel like we're living at the evening of our life, we can make decisions now before the dawn breaks out. It is never too late to do the right thing. It is never too late to yield and to repent and to start living for God. It is never, ever too late. And then one last thing before we finish for today and save it all for next week. We'll pick it up again next week and talk more about this. And that is this. Point number 4. Ongoing consistency is more important than short-term intensity. Ongoing consistency is more important than short-term, flared-up intensity. The problem for so many people with various dimensions of their life is they try something and then they quit. They just stop. They don't give it. Listen, I'm not crazy like Jeff is with 100 miles, but I do like running distances. And you know that there's a part of you that just, you need to know that there's an ongoing consistency. That is going to be so much so much better than trying to come off the line with just a burst of energy and then fizzle and die. That's why people say, you know, we talked about it last week, say you get to January, say, look, I'm going to lose all of that weight that I gained in the last 2 months of the year, and they go to January, they go to February, and by March, they give up. Why is that? They weren't getting immediate results. It was too hard, or whatever it was. They didn't get immediate results. They didn't stick with it. We want to read our Bible, cover to cover. So that's one of the things I want to do in my lifetime. I want to read the Bible, cover to cover. And we get started, and then we get a day behind. We get 2 days behind, a week behind. Dang, I'm too far behind. I can't even do it. And we give up. We want to be a good spouse. Some people are like, can I just get to the how to be a good spouse accelerated class? No, just go do the dishes and stop being a jerk. That's how you need to do it. If we start small and we realize the power of ongoing consistency, the smallest decisions we make in every way are of infinite importance and will affect your future. That's what distance runners know. Start slow, settle into a pace that is doable, and don't stop. And when we do that, we will cross that finish line. You'll finish your race well. Ongoing, steady, slow, measured consistency allows you to tap into what has been called the most powerful force in the universe, and that is the force of compound interest. You can just talk to finance people about that. They'll gladly tell you all about that, but the point of it is stick with it, and amazing things will happen. There was a study that was done in Australia. They were studying the effects of sunscreen on a person, and they had two groups. One group put on SPF 15 every day, regardless of the weather outside. Every day they put on sunscreen, SPF 15, only 15, every day, regardless of the weather. The other group put on SPF 50, but they only put it on when it was sunshiny outside. And they followed them over time. And guess what happened? The ones who put on SPF 15 every single day, regardless of the weather, were the ones that, some period of time later, years later, they looked just like they did at the start of it all. And the ones who put on the SPF 15 looked like, leather. They didn't look the same. It changed on them as well. And what is true for your skin is true for your soul. Stick with it. Stay at it. Get stuck in a good routine, and it will serve you well. So what is the life you get stuck with? It's like your mom told you that. Don't make that face, right? Don't make that face. You're going to get stuck, but that face is going to get stuck on you. Not bad. What are you sticking with? Is it helpful or not? Is it good or bad? You can grow smile lines. You can grow frown lines, depending on what your constant normal is. The life you get stuck with is the life that you get to help shape. So make it a good one. prayer partners, if you would go ahead and get into place right now, and see you moving through the sanctuary. Prayer partners are getting into place right now. Just want to tell you this: any times when